It's another Starbase summary, this one going from June 7th to June 12th. And if you're wondering, who's this guy that's talking? This is not John, this is not Daz. Who is this? Well, I am Alex. And if you want to find out what's going on with Daz, keep watching because I'll explain it later. Meanwhile, here we have the chopsticks being worked on. They were open there in order to work on the carriage system. It's a bit of a continuation of what we saw in the previous summary where they were removing some of the skates on the carriage system. The carriage system is this system that, on one end it holds onto the arms, as you can see there on the left, and on the other hand sort of holds onto the tower, and it rolls up and down the tower thanks to those skates that are being removed. And so they probably are just doing some kind of maintenance upgrades to those skates. We really don't know. It seems like those kind of skates will probably be long lead items to be something that, they suddenly have to change after Flight 12. They were probably thinking about this maybe before that. Other things, though, might have to do with that Flight 12 being perhaps a bit more damaging than they thought in certain areas. We see a lot of scaffolding now being set up there on the Chopsticks, for example. Of course, the launch mount as well getting more attention as they refurbish the launch mount and try to work through all of the things that they may have found out on that flight. Remember, it was the very first time they launched from Pad 2, so they're bound to find things that they need to upgrade, to fix. They will not start right away with 1 hour turnarounds, right, on this launch pad. That's the whole point. But, speaking of other damage that might have been a bit unplanned, is the one to the Gateway to Mars sign that was here in this wall. Probably not unexpected, which is different than unplanned, right? Like, yeah, it blew apart, sure. It's not unexpected. It's a big rocket that launched right next to it, and it's pretty much at the other end of the flame trench. So, yeah, probably not unexpected, but maybe unplanned. That's my take. In any case, we have here Booster 21, the liquid oxygen tank being moved out of Mega Bay 1. And the reason for that is in the next few clips, because the whole point of just exiting the bay is to leave room for Booster 20. That, as you can see there, it completed a second cryo-proof test where they load nitrogen and oxygen in this booster and sort of try to make sure that it can hold the structures, and there's like pushers on the bottom as well that simulate the thrust of the engines and everything. It's a whole thing that they do here, and so it's really important that they do this before installing the engines. So Booster 20 will have to roll back. And if Booster 21 is in the middle of the bay, it doesn't have any room to move around. So that's why Booster 21 had to exit Mega Bay 1. Now, as for DAS, here we can see the rollback, by the way. As it's rolling back, I'll talk about what happened to DAS, which is, well, here at NSF we cover launches, and sometimes we provide launch live stream services to other companies. In this case, to ESA Aerospace. He's helping out there, and so he's not available. He's going to be very, very busy. The company has put out a press release out there. They're saying like maybe June 15th to 21st. We'll see if that's the case, right? Like it's one of those things that companies tend to target certain launch dates, but you know what happens in spaceflight. Sometimes these things can move up and down the schedule. That's why I always say, Next Spaceflight, it's the place to go for that. nextspaceflight.com, it's also an app. And so you can see, you check on those launch dates, just like you check also on Starship launch dates, which there's been some news lately. And if you want to know some of those news, I'm also writing the Starship update video that's hopefully releasing this Monday. Don't tell anybody, but sometimes I'm a little bit late with my scripts, and we have to release a little bit later. Don't say anybody. Yeah, I should be writing right now that Starship update, that script, but I'm here instead, talking here about Starships. These videos are not scripted, by the way. They are totally just as we go. Just watch the clips and see what's happening and things like that. Here, Booster 20 returning back to the production site from Massey's. And yeah, as I was saying, they had to remove Booster 21 out of that Mega Bay. Booster 21, hopefully Flight 14, Booster 20 here, Flight 13. That's the hope, unless for whatever reason they change order, which is highly unlikely, right? But yeah, and Okay, I'm gonna spoil the Starship update. Gwen Shotwell is saying that, July for Flight 13. I don't know if that's gonna be the case. Maybe they will, if they get the engines on the booster right on time and they do the static firing and everything in the next few weeks. Maybe they can get a July flight. We'll see. Flight 14, maybe a month after that. And Flight 15, maybe from the Cape. We don't know, right? That's the kind of thing that it's sort of like up in the air. Except Starship, I guess, right now there, it's on the ground. Yeah, I can also do puns, I guess. But anyways, look, I'm just trying to get through all of this because we have here Booster 20, and as I was explained, they're building Booster 21, that liquid oxygen tank. I feel like, at least at the time of this recording, had not an engine section. I think, recording of the clip, not of this audio. By the time that I'm recording this, they are indeed already stacked on that engine section. And so the only thing left will be the methane tank. So we're waiting to see if we can see that happening in the next few weeks as well. Booster 20, once it gets its engines, it should roll out to Pad 2. We'll cover that as well here at NSF, live streams and all. Also Starbase Live as usual. And we'll see when they fire up that baby and, get it ready for flight. Ship 40 should also go out for testing, for engine testing at Massey's at any point. So keep your eyes peeled for that. We can see there right in the background, if you scroll back a little bit in the video, you might see tiles. That's Ship 41. That should be Flight 14 as well. Again, pending no shifting around of vehicles, that should have been Flight 14, Ship 41, already stacked in the Megabay 2. And here, Booster 20 going into Megabay 1. Much easier without the grid fins. When they stole the grid fins, they have to rotate and keep an eye for clearances and everything. It's a lot easier here without the grid fins. But yeah, they have 3 work stands sort of on the back half of the bay, and they were moving it to the back right of the bay. And then, of course, with Booster 20 on the work stand, now they were able to return Booster 21's liquid oxygen tank to Megabay 1. So yeah, and then we can see here more Gigabay construction happening. I believe this is the work on the 5th level, if I'm not mistaken. There's like a final level above that. That's sort of what they call the penthouse. It's sort of like this sort of roof area where they might have offices and things like that in the future, sort of like the other base as well. Here is Ship 41 that I was talking about before. Again, hopefully that Flight 14, you can see the Crunchwrap there on some of that. TPS, Thermal Protection System. They use a lot of acronyms. We also use them. It's a lot easier. But just so you know what TPS means. And there we can see the sort of Crunchwrap. They have this sort of weird felt that sort of wraps around the edges of the tile. And that's a good way of just filling the gaps. And then they sort of trim it, as we can see here. And that keeps a good seal in between the tiles, because the tiles, if you have gaps, then the plasma can sort of hit that area, and it's not good. But yeah, this area was not, it's one of the areas where they sort of weld together the barrel sections, right? The bottommost barrel section gets welded there. So after it's welded and the ship is put there on the work stand, they tile that up, and so that's what we're seeing here, that work finally being done. All of the test tanks here from booster 18.3, booster point 18.1. There's also 39.1 and a booster test tank all the way on the left. So many test tanks. Whenever I have to write about this for Starship Update, it's not really a joy because there's just so many, and they do so many tests. But weirdly enough, this booster landing tank, I think they've only done 2 cryos on it, which is weird. But as you can see here, Ship 39.1 test tank, 14th cryo test already, and the 15th. So yeah, it just happens. this is just about gathering extra data. Even though they have already flown and they have tested, for example, there the hot staging interface on booster 18.3 and everything, they still test all of these testings. It's always good to have extra data. It doesn't hurt. As long as it's still there, right? Might as well gather some more data. Sometimes you test for, anomalies, scenarios, and things like that, where you're sort of out of the envelope sort of thing that they talk about in engineering. But in any case, I'm not Daz, I'm Alex, as I said before. But hey, it's some big shoes to fill, I guess. And of course, thanks for watching, and thanks to all the people in the field as well, and the Starbase robots, and to Thomas for editing this video. And we'll see you all on the next one.